Welcome, everyone. I'm Carolina Strass, and this is Avenue Code Extraordinary Woman in Tech podcast. Today, for our podcast, I'm happy to host Sunita Uthra. She is the Senior VP of Software Engineering at Moody's Investor Service. Welcome, Sunita, and thank you so much for accepting our invitation.
Thank you so much for having me, Caroline. I'm honored to be here.
Lovely. So, the first thing, and I think everyone wants to know a little bit more about you. So, if you could share a little bit more about your background and your journey in tech and how you got started.
Of course. So, first of all, I'm Sunita Uthra. I'm a technology leader with 20 plus years of experience in financial industry. The way I describe myself is that I'm a lifelong learner who's had the opportunity to lead business transformation and in multiple leadership positions across multiple companies. But that's who I am at my core. I'm a lifelong learner. I'm also really passionate about empowering women, especially in STEM, and I'm associated with several organizations as a mentor to enable the next generation of technology leaders as well. As far as how did I get started in tech, so I'm going to go a little bit into history here. So I grew up in India as the oldest of four daughters for my parents, who came from humble beginnings and, rose in their respective lives with their grit and resilience. In fact, my mother was one of the first women to ever work in a major bank in India. So she's been my biggest inspiration. And an interesting fact is that I come from a family of bankers. My grandfather was a banker. 5 of his 7 children were banker. A number of my cousins, even my sister is now a banker. And I grew up saying, I do not want to work in a bank. Well, lo and behold, most of my career now has been with banks. So that's the irony of fate. Yes. But I wanted to be a doctor. From an early age, math and science were my thing. But as I got into high school, I realized that wasn't working out so well. So I decided to give up biology, to stick with math, physics, chemistry. And the first thing I noticed when I got to class was that I was the only girl in that class. So yeah, that was an awkward moment for a 16-year-old me. But it was. When I was growing up in India at that time, India was at the cusp of, rapid changes and advancements in technology. And there was a whole lot of curiosity about what impact it could have on people's lives. And that curiosity basically was what led me to pursue a career, a master's degree, and then a career in tech. I remember when I started coding, we still had COBOL, which is now like a dinosaur of programming.
I heard that.
And in college, the first time I did coding was creating a program in Pascal. And that literally was my very first code. And I remember I did it on a PC. And for printing, we had those weird looking printers, where we had to put in those special sheets with holes on both sides, would get stuck ever so often. It's been quite a journey, and I'm so grateful for it.
No, definitely. And it's so nice to hear like those names of things that I'm not familiar with because I'm not on our life anymore. But I think like with all this experience and going through all this transformation, you got a lot of experience and insights for your future, right?
Of course.
But one thing that on our previous conversations, you mentioned that you took a career break for the motherhood. And if you could share a little bit, how was the experience to return to work and return to your career after this break? I think that's something that all women in tech kind of struggle with this work balance, but taking a break, I think that's so brave. And also returning after that, I think it's even braver.
No, thank you. Certainly. Well, first, I want to emphasize that taking a break is a personal decision, and there's no right or wrong answer. For me, it was a decision that I made wholeheartedly, and during that time, I completely focused on being a full-time mother. Returning to the workforce, though, was a challenge. There were strong cultural stereotypes as well about working women, especially as they move into motherhood. And add to that, the fact that in technology, things are constantly evolving and at a very really fast paced. And to get back after the break was, there was a lot of catch up to do in terms of new technologies, industry developments. It was a crisis in confidence for me, and I had to work really hard to gain that back because I started doubting my own abilities. And once I was back in the workplace, the reality kicked in again. I had my hands full between a full family life with two small kids and a demanding job that took over an hour to travel at that time. But at the same time, this experience has given me a unique perspective, on how to support working mothers now as a leader and create a more equitable workplace for all. It also taught me the importance of setting my own priorities, finding a balance between personal and professional responsibilities, a balance that I create and that works for me. I also want to connect this, Carolina, to the fact that one of the biggest challenges we see for women in tech is a lack of representation, right? Women are still underrepresented in tech, engineering and leadership roles. I think roughly 25% is the statistic that's out there. And women are still more likely to take on the majority of caregiving responsibilities within a household, right? I believe around 76% was a statistic published by United Nations or globally. And so they end up putting in double duty, almost double duty to balance the work and personal expectations. I know I did when my kids were little. But that lack of representation translates into a lack of appreciation for that extra work that women might be doing in that position, but more importantly, into lack of appropriate company policies, to provide support. As a young mother who was first trying to get back to the workforce after a break and then struggled to keep up with everything at work and home, I can tell you firsthand that it took a lot of hard work, of course, and sweat, but also guilt to get through that balance. And most important, the returning to work or returning to work after a break, it requires a shift in mindset, adjusting to a new kind of balance. And most importantly, having the right support system. These days, I love the program several companies have now instituted to support people like me who've taken a break, like returnship program, I think is the term that's used, which I love. And it's important for the companies to recognize the value of, the value that these women bring with their, experiences and perspectives and create environments that support their success.
Yes, absolutely. And I think going through all this experience, I know your team probably has this amazing leader where if they're facing any kind of problems or the same situation, you're even more supportive. And I think women groups just like ours, interacting with more people, sharing best practice, sharing experience, seeing that it's normal, is what we go through, and people need to really acknowledge and accept those challenges of life, not only about work. And so I think it really combines our initiative on what we do and our goal to really network everyone and combine those experiences. And so that's to my follow-up question is, how do you think those support groups of women impact the future of technology and also this kind of situations where people take breaks and also best practice in the market? How is this affecting and impacting everyone?
Huge. The support groups for women in tech can have a huge impact. Women, they currently make up, like we discussed, a relatively small percentage of the tech workforce. And those of us that are there are often faced with unique challenges, whether it is sometimes being overlooked for opportunities or being undervalued for our contributions or what have you. Having these groups provides a community and a network for women to connect and to learn from each other, to support each other and lift each other up. There are countless women who have faced challenges and obstacles similar to what I or you or anyone else might have faced, right? But who also share your values, but who dare to still dream big and have made incredible strides in their fields. And support groups provide an opportunity to learn from them, be inspired, and, know that you too can make a difference, engage with each other, lean on each other for encouragement. And it's important that women have the access to such resources and the support, because by doing so, we create a more just society, equitable society for all. And as we empower women to participate fully in the workforce and the leadership role, that just unlocks their unique perspectives, bring that to the table, which adds to the diversity of the sort of the think machines that we have, and just helps with the driving of innovation and progress in so many industries. And as we empower each other, we help each other break down our own individual barriers as well as the collective barriers that we might see across society.
And I think it give us more confidence to keep doing,
of course,
and really to have this confidence. And I think that's the key word whenever we're talking about women in tech and women in general. Yeah. But well, you mentioned at the beginning about like hands-on coding and all. So you transition from a hands-on developer to this exceptional leader. So can you tell us a little bit more, how was this transition and how you strive to create an inclusive team culture?
Yeah, of course. Transitioning from a hands-on developer to a leadership role has been, I would say, a learning journey, and it's not just about technology, even though I am in technology, but it's not just about technology, right? It's learning about people, about relationships, about collaboration, about yourself. You learn a lot about yourself as well, about taking risks and how to continue to find ways to add value in whatever you are doing or wherever you are, But what is important is that you have to have a constant desire to learn and grow, despite the challenges. In fact, using the challenges as an impetus for your growth. We, as women, we often doubt ourselves and become our own worst critics, and that becomes our biggest barrier. I was reading this book, Good Power by Ginny Rometty. She's a remarkable leader who was the CEO of IBM for 40, well, she was with IBM for 40-some years. She talks about self-doubt and feeling like an imposter, which, let's be truthful, everyone has felt at one time or the other. She says that anytime you have that sort of nagging feeling, you remind yourself of the incredible learning opportunity it is. So change the lens with which you look at that self-doubt, So what is also important is taking calculated risks, whether it means speaking up or in a meeting or raising your hand for an assignment, that's going to be challenging. But, going back to our support system, it's important that as we go through that journey, we build strong relationships, with your colleagues, with your mentors, with, your network, because these relationships are what sort of provide you with valuable advice and opportunity for growth, developing your career. And I feel that as a leader, this feeds into the kind of culture you build for the teams, right? So a positive and an inclusive work environment makes the team members feel valued for what they bring to the table. And that is the best, so as you support each other, as you respect each other, that's the best way to build those relationships. Maya Angelou said, people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel, right? So that to me is the most important thing.
That's beautiful. And I love this phrase, like, make the way you make people feel. I think that's the most powerful thing ever. And one thing that I always like to get on this discussion about the imposter syndrome is I think it hunts us down everywhere that we go, and we need to deal with it. And one thing that I learned is how to deal with the imposter syndrome that I have is to really fight it back and be even more prepared. So whenever I face any challenge that I know is not my strength, it can be my weakness, I try to be even more prepared to fight it whenever I need to face that. So being prepared, and I think trying to see it in the positive side that will give you some strength if you're prepared to fight with it. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, like I said, as Ginny Rometty says in the book, look at it as a learning opportunity. Anytime you are going into a new arena, a new space where like, how am I going to accomplish this? Think of it as, oh, new thing. I don't know much about this, but here you go. Here's another learning opportunity. And that's where the learning, the learning mindset comes into play, a continuous learning mindset.
Sure. And I love that because one of our DNAs here at Avenue Code, like the key things that we have is the continuous learning. So we're always pushing people to learn even more. That's beautiful. Well, we started at the beginning talking about like some old technologies and what you learn through your career. But now I want to bring more about digital transformation and AI. And because it's kind of high in the market right now, so I want to know, how do you see those developments and their importance for company to adopt, particularly within your industry?
Of course. Well, digital transformation and AI are crucial for companies to adapt to today, right? It's a rapidly changing business landscape. Technology is now essentially a cornerstone of every business, right? And the companies that don't embrace that, they risk falling behind their competitors. AI in particular, it's transforming many industries, especially as we talk about finance, tech, by enabling companies to, whether it's automate tasks, gain insights from large data sets, make more informed decisions. AI is being used for new business models or products, or streamline the existing ones. And of course, personalized customer experience, to name a few. I mean, ChatGPT has taken the whole, whole environment in its storm. But it's an exciting time to be in technology. And I believe that, like I said, companies that embrace the new concepts will be the ones that thrive in the years to come. Having said that, while we need to continue to adapt to these new tech and find ways to incorporate them into our work, we also need to consider the ethical and social implications of these technologies, right? The evolving nature of AI can understandably cause apprehension in people because it's an unknown for the most part. For general people, it's unknown, right? But this is where having a foundation of trust is really impactful. And so trust becomes the key ingredient for an AI-ready culture. And diversity it plays a key role here as well. I mean, think about it. In terms of AI, it would be fundamental to have a diverse group of people that create the models for AI, right? People with diverse backgrounds, viewpoints, sexual orientations, or beliefs. So we can prevent the biases that might inadvertently seep into AI. Tech has the power to shape the future, because really every company is a tech company now, right? And so it's essential that tech not just reflects the values of society, but plays its part in lifting up those values as well.
Yeah, that's so interesting. And I know we still have like a long way to go, and we're just starting with AI, but it's exciting. Being in tech right now, I think like we're lucky to see all the changes that we're going through. Perfect. So I think our time is up. Thank you so much, Sunita, for being here with us today. I really look forward to see you in our in-person events and also in any other events that we're doing remotely. So thank you, everyone who tune in here. I'll see you soon, and thanks, everybody.
Thank you for having me and for the opportunity to share. It's been an honor for me. Thank you, Caroline.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.